Hello and welcome to the Loan Officer Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Johnstone, and I have an incredible offer for you today. What we've done is we've taken the 10 most profitable methods to grow your mortgage business that we have learned from interviewing the producers on this podcast, many of whom are doing over $100 million in volume per year. And we've packaged them together into a condensed 45-minute training where you get to learn the 10 most successful and profitable activities that you should be running in your mortgage business. Then we show you how to automate those processes with people and systems so that they run and continue to produce loan applications and new partners that want to send you business pre-booked into your calendar without you having to do any cold calls or chasing or really any work. It's a blueprint for you to be able to produce more in your business while actually working less. And you can go get that training today for free at chriswebinar.com. That's chriswebinar.com. So make sure you head over there today, grab that training for free, and make sure that you watch it, because the sooner you get started on implementing these strategies, the sooner you can see results and continue to grow your mortgage business. Thank you again for being here with us for this episode, and enjoy another one on the Loan Officer Wealth Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Loan Officer Wealth Podcast. I'm Chris Johnstone, and we are blessed to have Ryan Grant on the show today. Ryan, thank you so much for being so generous with your time.
Yeah, Chris, happy to be here. I've been a fan and a listener of the show for a long time, so excited to be on.
Awesome. Well, for our listeners, if you wouldn't mind giving just a little bit of your backstory. So how did you get into the mortgage industry? You know, how did you get in, well, not get involved with, but how did you help start Neo Home Loans, and tell us that story?
Yeah. So typical, mortgage, you kind of fall into it, right? I was going to be an attorney and was taking a year off before I went to law school. My brother-in-law calls, says he made a bunch of money his first month in the mortgage industry, and this was 2004. And I said, "What's a mortgage? And is there one of those companies close to me?" I was in LA at the time. So went to go to a subprime refi call center, and that was my career basically through 2008.
Wow.
Career is a kind way of putting it. It was just a job where I literally learned nothing. And then just try to survive through 2008, 2009. I actually helped Bay Equity Home Loans start their retail division in 2009. And that was great, great learning, but I wasn't originating at that time. I was just kind of helping them with some management and some leadership. And then 2010 rates kind of picked up towards the end of the year, and everyone that I was overseeing was doing refinances, and income dropped, and didn't really control my own destiny, right? I was more of an employee than I was someone who really owned my career.
Yep.
Which I think is a really good distinction for people to make, right? Like, do you have a job in the mortgage business, or do you have a career in the mortgage business? And I realized I didn't have a career. And so I was going to leave, I was going to go to business school. My dad says, "Why don't you try and just, use some of your personality skills and go meet real estate agents and have them send you business and kind of build your business that way." And I looked at him, I was like, "I don't think that's a thing. I think you just send out mailers and do refis." Needless to say, I'd never done a purchase at that point. I never met a realtor in, 6 years of being in the business.
Wow.
I didn't have a CRM. I didn't have past clients. So I ended up finding iMortgage, which is a company that I dearly loved. I loved the leadership there. And, they took a shot, and I got a business card, and I had to go figure it out. Right. So 2011 was really kind of what I consider year one in my career. And then from there, it was just a effort, right? Just sheerly showing up, being at every open house you can possibly think of, meeting with every realtor that would ever meet with me, being at every real estate event imaginable. And just, I wasn't any different than anybody else, right? I showed up more, and I hustled.
Yep.
And was able to build $100 million business in 3 years, which is, looking back, it seemed at the time like it was just the path, but looking back, it was, something that I'm really proud of, and obviously built a team along the way, which I was fortunate to. The company helped me kind of put the cart before the horse a little bit, right? So like I was able to hire people in advance of the production and grow into it, which is something that not a lot of companies do.
Yeah.
They make you go get the business first, and then you get to hire somebody, which is a super backwards way of doing it.
Yep.
Um, and then from there, just kind of different iterations from a few different companies over 10 years. And at the end of, or kind of middle of 2020, we made the decision that where we were, between our two companies, the co-creators of Neo at our previous companies, we made the decision that we couldn't change the mortgage industry the way that we wanted to. We couldn't redefine what a mortgage professional should be in the life of the consumer where we were, right? And so I just had a conversation earlier where I explained the term existential flex, right? Which is where somebody essentially makes a decision to do something that really doesn't make a lot of sense to most people, but they're not doing it for money. They're actually leaving money behind, but they're doing it for a cause or like a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Is when, basically when Walt Disney sold all of his shares in his real estate to go start Disneyland.
Yep.
People thought he was crazy, right? When Steve Jobs buried the entire Apple operating system because he saw the mouse and almost bankrupt the company, but found that, right? And so um, all of us could have very much stayed comfortable and stayed complacent and stayed in our happy little comfortable place. But uh, there was a time when we were at a coaching seminar and Jesse Itzler, we were all trying to decide if we were going to do this or not. It was like one of those, like, are we really going to do these things? And Jesse Itzler came and said, one of the things you really don't want to do is get to the end of your life and realize that you've become the 80% version of yourself.
Ooh.
And we all just looked at each other like from different areas in the room. Like you could just tell we were saying like, we're doing this. There's another thing that I heard a while back that really drives me still today. I was talking to Tim Brahim as a podcast I was on a little while ago, and he's like, where's your drive come from? And I heard this quote that says the definition of hell is when when you die, the person you are meets the person you could have become at your fullest potential. And that still gives me goosebumps to this day when I say it, because that is a super scary thing to think about. And I think we all just wanted to be the best versions of ourselves. We all wanted to be inspired again by the work that we do. We wanted to be very fulfilled at the end of the day, that we've not just sold a lot of debt, right? That we've impacted people's lives in a very proactive and continual way. And it creates a lot of safety too, right? Because when you're selling a different product or when you're telling a different story, you're not beholden to the same challenges that the industry faces today.
That is so true. And so, man, there's so much to unpack there. So first off, meeting your full potential. So that's something I forget specifically where I heard that the first time, but that's been getting me out of bed for at least a couple of years every morning.
Yeah.
That 5:30 alarm hits and it's just like, no, I don't want to today. And then you think about, what's that other guy doing? He's out of bed already. So out I go and I'm going to go chase him. So I'm interested in your personal development journey, because I feel like so much success that comes in any type of business, not just the mortgage business alone, there's systems and processes. Sure. There's, tools that you can use to do it, but it's ultimately the person that takes those and makes the opportunity out of them. So what do you think has really, because getting to $100 million in volume in 3 years, phenomenal accomplishment. I know you've got many other accomplishments that we haven't had a chance to dive into on the podcast. So what do you think, have you had any of those fundamental moments in your career where you've made that decision to be different? Do you feel like you do something different that really makes you stand out?
Initially, no. Initially, it was just effort. One of my early mentors says, 90% of this business is just showing up.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the mortgage industry isn't, it's not like we are all trying to get chosen from the mortgage industry out of Harvard. We don't have to be number one in our class. It's really a group of people that have found this industry. No one had, all the best originators posters on their wall when they were growing up, right? So we all kind of found this industry in different ways. And it's been easy for really 20 years outside of give or take 2 or 3 years, right? Sporadically. And so that ease of wealth creation for us in the mortgage industry created a low barrier of entry for excellence, right?
Yep.
Like the people who outwork, who people who out hustle, the people who show up more, the people who do different things, and who can quantify a different deliverable, um, they can really stand out, right? And so in the beginning, it was just hard work, and then over time, it was, I think the next iteration was really growing a team,
Hmm.
and figuring out the blueprint for how to build like an infinitely scalable model,
Yep.
which gave me time back. And then coaching, surrounding myself with people who have done it, and I didn't have to recreate the wheel. When my wife was pregnant with our first daughter, it was frightening for me because I had phenomenal parents who were always there for everything, at all the games, all the stuff. And I'm thinking, like, how in God's name am I going to be at anything I was working 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
Um, but I could, because I was, just recently married. Before then, my fiance was super understanding that I was trying to build something, right? And, from that point, I was like, wait, I need to create an integration between work and life, right? Because I don't think work-life balance is a great word,
Yep.
because you can never really balance them. I think integrating the two
Hmm.
is really the more appropriate way to do it. And so coaching helped me figure out the integration, and then, you know, getting my morning routine in a place that I got really comfortable with and consistent with, helped me kind of win the day early.
Yep.
And then over time, just continuing to iterate what it is we actually do, because we don't sell loans anymore.
Yeah.
Like we don't sell debt the way that we used to. We made some very clear and distinct changes, and so I think just constant search for improvement in all areas of your life is the thing. And the reason why people typically trip up there is because they get hyper competitive with other people, right? They're comparing themselves versus I remember, before I knew Josh really well, and before we became business partners, I heard that he woke up at 4 a.m. when he started his day. And I was like, I'm going to do that then too,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Because he's successful. So now I've been waking up at 4 a.m. And then somebody's doing this and somebody's doing that. And so it's like, I spent a long time comparing myself to other people's, executions and their results were.
Hmm.
And it wasn't, look, I'd be lying if I said I still don't do that to some certain extent. And it's a struggle that I have, but now really understanding is did I just do better than I did yesterday? Right? Like, am I better this year than last year? Quantifying it versus me, right? Like, because
Yeah.
everybody should be their own future hero, right? And you're never going to meet that person, but we can always work towards it.
That's amazing. That's when I first got into the mortgage business, my dad always said to me, like at least multiple times per week, like, Chris, if you just show up every day and you give everything you've got that particular day, you're in the top 10%,
Yeah.
and you can do just fine in the top 10%.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've taken with me. Um, so obviously you've got a huge growth mindset and you're very good at it. So I'm interested in all of the different routines that you've tried and all the different books you've read and the hacks that we've all, tried. What are the things that, because I've found a lot of that stuff doesn't really resonate with me. Like I'll try it for a month, and some of it sticks and some of it doesn't. So what are the big things that you've found in that personal development realm that have really stuck with you that you feel are important for you?
You have to enjoy it. I think that's probably the easiest way to say it, right? Because if everything is a battle,
Hmm.
right, then you're not going to stick with it,
Yeah.
right? If your life dictates a different blueprint or game plan, then adapt to it, right? Like, not everybody's is a morning person. Not everyone's an evening person. Like, you don't have to, everybody's idea of personal health and that journey is different.
Yeah.
Um, so just kind of understanding what your baseline deliverables are and doing it in a way that you can enjoy and find real happiness in.
Yeah.
Because that was like an epitome that I had, that or epiphany I had, sorry, that it was only a few years ago where I realized that, dopamine is not released when you achieve something. It's released on your way to that thing, right?
Huh.
It's the anticipation drug. And so I always thought, if X happens, I will be happy.
Yeah.
But it's not it. As soon as X happens, your happiness dopamine drops off a cliff, right? And then it's like, okay, well, that didn't make me happy. And then you got to go do something else. And it's dopamine is released when you're anticipating getting to that thing. And so we just decided to build something now at Neo that we'll never actually get to, right? Like we're never going to accomplish our just cause, but on the way there, it'll make us super happy.
That is beautiful. Yeah, that is amazing, powerful stuff. Um, you have built a phenomenal team in a very short period of time. So I'm wondering, who was your first hire? And what have you learned from then until now about team building and finding the right people, getting all the right people on the bus, getting the bus headed in the right direction? Truly, if you could share, your top takeaways on how to build a great team.
First hire was I called them a loan officer. I called her a loan officer assistant, which I would highly discourage anyone from ever calling anyone assistant ever again. Um, but had no clue what I was doing, right?
Yeah.
Most of my early career, I just threw money and bodies at problems, and iterated the, kind of hurdles along the way into what we now have is what I really do, confidently consider the infinitely scalable blueprint that really every originator should follow if they want to build a great career. But if I had to give any advice to someone, it would just be don't figure it out on your own, right?
Yeah.
Like we openly give this away, right? Like anybody who's struggled with their team building, with who to hire, with what to pay them, with what they do, what their job descriptions are, with what you stop doing when you hire that person. Because if every time you move forward in your career, you can fire yourself from what you're doing previously, right, and move up this ladder. Um, that's the goal, right? There's 5 functional components to any mortgage practice, which is leadership, lead generation, conversion, fulfillment, and then post closing and retention, which is in that same 5th category. Most originators stick squarely in conversion and fulfillment, right? They talk to clients and then they get those deals closed and they're yo-yoing back and forth. And every now and then they get enough space where they can dip into lead generation.
Yep.
And but with very little consistency, which is why you see the roller coaster of production. They very rarely move into leadership, or they haven't really studied or focused it. And leadership is very much not an innate characteristic, I can tell you from experience. And almost no one focuses on retention and repeat business, right? It's just kind of like a lawnmower without a bag. You just come in one side and slap the bag. So if you can build a team, what you could do is you can elevate into exclusively leadership.
Yeah.
And your team is lead generating, your team is converting, they're fulfilling, they're post closing and retaining your clients. And it's a really amazing thing, not only personally, because you create massive scale, but you can really help more families in a way that you're proud of. You get the ability to accomplish that and grow your team. But the biggest thing that I've found is the biggest reward for me, because it's most tangible, is the way that the team gets to grow.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to be a production partner for 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to be a processor for 10 years. Everybody wants career advancement. They want the same journey towards, that you're on. And a lot of loan originators don't realize that. They're like, well, I'm just going to be this and they're going to be that. It's like, you're going to have turnover. You're going to have people that don't want to stay there. They're going to search something different or better. And so when you elevate as an originator and a team leader and then a branch leader and then a regional leader, every person that started with you now has the opportunity to do more and be more. And I'm super proud of seeing my early team and what they're doing today. It's like, it not only has changed my life, but it is in large part changed theirs. And my life has changed because of them, right? So if I don't then give them that opportunity, it doesn't say much about me as a leader.
And it all works together. There's there's I think a universal law there. The more people that you help, the more the closer you get to your goals as well,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. So I hear from a lot of loan officers that are stuck at that first step, like the first journey up the mountain in hiring and building a team and starting to work on that pathway towards greatness and leadership. And they're scared to hire the first person because they feel like they can't afford a 50 or a $60,000 salary right up front. And that pain point I see stopping people all of the time. Like, I can't hire somebody, I can't afford $60,000. What would you say to that?
First of all, you have to understand your economic model. Um, Most people shouldn't be paying for that person, right? They're either their company should, or it should be built into their profitability. And that was one of the things that took me a long time, unfortunately, to realize, was like the entire economic stack, right, of, from the time a loan is bought and sold all the way to the bottom, like where the revenue goes. And a lot of people don't have access to the transparency of that revenue, which means that they can't make business decisions, right? They're an
Mm.
employee and they need their employer to effectively run their business.
Yep.
So when you have that ability to see the entire economic profile of a loan, you realize you can afford a team. Right now, let's just say you do understand that. The ability for you to not do stuff that, I don't know if you ever heard of the genius zone, where there's four different quadrants of zone of incompetence, competence, zone of excellence, and then genius zone. Most people get stuck in their zone of competence or their zone of excellence, but they can never move fully into their genius zone because they're in their email all day long. They're chasing conditions, they're pre-approving their files, they're fill in the blank with a number of different things. If you can realize that there's people who are more qualified and more suited to do those positions that would love the opportunity, and you could stop doing those and move more into your genius zone, then you would pay 100 of those people,
That's right.
right? Because an A player doesn't cost you any money at all. An A player is free because they'll always make you more money than you could ever pay them.
That's right.
And typically the thing that holds people back, it's not actually the money, it's the belief in themselves.
Hmm.
Because I've had a couple of different people that we've helped over the years here at Neo, where I've sat them down and said, okay, we're going to restructure your team a little bit. This person's going to do this now, this person's going to do this, this person does this. And then they look at me and they go, well, what do I do? And it's like, now you get to go grow the business, right?
Yes.
Now you have zero excuses for, you can't say, well, I'm too busy and I can't do this. Like, you hear it all the time, right? Like, why are you at this plateau? And then they'll rattle off a list of excuses. If you can remove all those excuses and place them in job descriptions of the team, and the person's like, okay, well, that's what I've always done. It's like, well, what you've always done got you here, but it's not going to get you there.
Ooh.
Right. So now that we know what you can and should be doing, just go do that. Right. And you hear the Warren Buffett quotes, nobody knows if you're wearing a swimsuit until the tide goes out. It's like,
Yeah.
tide's out, dude. Like, let's go see if you know what you're doing.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I love the quote, the team that got you to where you are is not the team that's going to get you to where you're going as well. And I think a strong leader is the person that identifies the roles and the right people in the right seats. And really being able to say, hey, look, here's my vehicle and here's how it works and here's where everybody fits within the organization and this is how we're going to get to that next level. But I got some empty seats right now and I'm
Yep.
sitting in all of them. So I
Yeah.
got to go get those people. I got to get those butts in those seats that we can take this thing to the next destination.
Yep. Well said.
So you mentioned earlier control your destiny. And I think that that is such an interesting idea in the mortgage industry right now because we're going through a lot of flux. We're going through what I would consider be going back to regular markets from what's been an abnormal market for the
Yeah.
last couple of years. But I see a lot of people that feel a little bit out of control in today's marketplace. So, what would be your advice to a loan officer that this might be their first market cycle, or it's a second or third market cycle, but they've forgotten what
Yeah.
that's like? How does a loan officer in today's market really control their destiny and work towards a better future, but also right now making it better?
I think the first thing is you have to have full control and autonomy of your business.
Mm.
Like you need to own the data. Right?
Yep.
And a lot of people don't realize that, but their company actually owns their data. You need to own your infrastructure. Right? You need to have autonomy and control of the economics, especially right now. You need to be able to make decisions quickly, right, that are for the betterment of your entire mortgage practice. And then you just need to have the executable blueprint, right, which is essentially is like the daily success checklist that says this is what success means, and none of those things are results. They're all activities,
Right.
because unfortunately we've been jaded or duped into believing that like I don't go tell people that we're a $300 million mortgage team, right? Which is what my production team did last year. I just tell people we have a high performing team. We were only $300 million production team 1 year, right? Prior to that, it was 250 something. Prior to that, it was 150, and that's kind of probably where we were in a more of a normal market. So just realizing that we can't be pining for the past. We need to be excited about the future, right? And all the opportunities that come with it. And so if we're judging our results based upon the previous 2 years' results, we're inevitably going to get discouraged.
Yep.
Right. And there's, the thing about, you know, testosterone and energy in males and females is that it's this flywheel, right? So when you're winning, you release testosterone, you release serotonin. It's kind of this drug where it makes working hard easier
Mm-hmm.
because you see success in winning. But the alternative holds true, which is if you're experiencing defeat and loss and challenge, it makes hard work really hard and you don't
Yeah.
want to do it. And most people are stuck in the latter version of that, where they're experiencing winning less, especially comparatively to where we were, last couple of years. And that just means it's hard for them to go do the work that's necessary to do right now. And so if you can flip that switch and say, look, success is not results today, success is activities, right?
Mm.
It's how many conversations am I having with homeowners and prospective homeowners, right? How many conversations am I having with the right realtor partners? How many conversations am I having with the right referral partners? How often am I touching base with my own database? How often am I looking to collaborate with other individuals and professionals that remind me of my future, not my past?
Yeah.
Because misery loves company, and there's so many people that are talking about the challenging market and why it's tough. You see these mortgage Facebook groups that I try and never go around, but it's just doom and gloom. Where there's also these kind of bright beacons of hope that what I feel Neo is, which is we have an incredibly confident group of mortgage professionals that know what makes us different and know we're selling a different product, and we can focus on the activities surrounding that. So I think if you want to own your destiny, you need to own your business. You need to have economic transparency. You need to have autonomy, but at the same time, you need to have a team, a group of people that are pushing you to be your best self every day, because you need that, especially now.
Oh, I could not agree more. And that push, we try and do that with our clients in the mortgage business all the time. So much so that, we've created a product where we install a concierge in a mortgage professional's business to call their database for them. We
Wow.
actually get the vetted list of realtors, call the realtors, and book the appointments for the loan officer, and to get them motivated about, like, I've got an opportunity with a realtor. We'll have clients that come to us and it's like, hey, great, I got this appointment with a realtor, but like, what's the script to close them? And it's like, you got to do a little bit yourself.
You can't do that too. I thought I paid for that.
But that comes down to mindset and the success activities. I was going to ask you what the daily success activities are, but you went through them beautifully and eloquently there. And so, Ryan, thank you for being so generous with your time. If I may have one other question. So at Neo Home Loans, you guys seem to be doing things really differently. And what is it that you find is that major differentiator between you and the marketplace? And why did you build it that way?
That's a great question. Um, when we looked at, I'll use ownership language. When I looked at my business in 2018, I was uninspired by being one of the top 50 mortgage professionals in the country. I had no pride around the fact that I was selling more debt than other people.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I was losing clients when rates went up, and we have one of the best customer service platforms on the planet. You know, the way we meet with our clients face to face, our whole philosophy. You know, we sold books around it, but we were still losing clients in 2018 because rates were moving up for the first time, and people were seeing 4s and 5s as opposed to 2s and 3s, and people were picking other lenders even though we had great customer service and all that stuff. And so I realized, okay, that didn't make me feel safe. And then, you know, I won't go into the whole sob story, but a client's husband passed away. They didn't have life insurance and they had to sell their home. And that was my fault. 100% that was my fault. And people were like, oh, well, you don't sell life insurance. You're a loan officer. But as an industry, we make the assumption that when we sell someone a home, that becoming a home owner means they will become a successful homeowner. And that's definitely not the case. Right? There's time and time again, we have proof of that. And that was not fulfilling for me, right? When I went home, I wasn't jacked up about the work that I did. So we knew we needed to change that. And that's what we've created at NEO, right? NEO means new. It's the new expectations that clients will have of their mortgage professional. And so if you were my client, I'd say, Chris, look, I'm glad that you were referred to us. I'm glad we found you. However we came across each other. Are you familiar with what makes us unique and different as a mortgage company? Most clients would say no, unless they really did. And I say, look, most mortgage companies are eager to sell you debt, and they're going to try and do that in the best way they know how. But the majority of our clients choose us because of our commitment to help them, not just for the next 30 days, but for the next 30 years, in a way that will proactively have us help you change the course of your generational wealth. Right? And we will help you plan for future real estate goals. We will help you navigate the changes and evolutions that are inevitably going to happen in your life. And you may think that you want a low rate and a fast closing, but we will teach you why what you need is exactly what we do. Right? And we've built an entire model around that. Even, you talked about this concierge team. It sounds very similar to our client success managers, right? So we have a whole group of client success managers that do nothing but engage with our clients. And so they're doing servicing transfer calls, first payment calls, 3-month calls to make sure they have, insurance in place, make sure they have estate plans, wills and trusts, managing through retirement well. 6-month calls to talk about our perfect mortgage promise and all the technology we have to tell people that they're always going to be in the right home and the right loan at the right time. So they have that peace of mind. And then every single year we're doing annual financial reviews. We don't call them annual mortgage reviews because nobody wants their 2.5% mortgage reviewed. So our annual financial reviews is where we really get to be proactive and do the things we say we're going to do, which is, hey, let's plan for an investment property. I don't care if it's 5 years down the road, right? But let's do something proactive as opposed to reactive. And our saying here at NEO is that our success as a company has nothing to do with how many loans we close or how much money we make or how many loan officers we have. Our success is entirely dependent on how successful our clients become. And we track that through our NEO Experience app, which all of our clients have on their phone. They have their net worth statements, they have their banking information, they have their budgeting, they're monitoring their credit scores. And we really believe that because over 80% of clients or the population will never reach out to a financial planner, 70% of people don't have life insurance or wills and trusts. We believe that we can be the de facto family office for the 99% of America, because those same people that will never reach out to financial professionals, it's in our DNA to want to buy homes, right? So they'll raise their hand and say, maybe I could just buy a house. And that means that our industry, as real estate agents and lenders, we have the greatest opportunity to most positively impact the most families in the country. But we've never stepped into that. Right? We've always just been very passive on like, hey, we're just going to give you debt to buy a home, but you got to do the rest. And that's why all of our team is CMPS certified. We use, we're all CMA certified. All of our post-closing and client success team, like, we believe that we can impact society in a way that helps bridge the wealth gap, right? That brings the average person who's fighting against the $25 billion BlackRock, hedge fund investment in buying real estate to get their own piece of it. And people aren't wealthy because they have money, Chris. They're wealthy because they have information.
Yes.
And we can be the group that provides them similar information that financial planners and really talented, wealthy, highly educated people can do for them. So that's what we're trying to do, and it's not easy. We're trying to change an industry that's been established for 80 plus years, and but we are proud of the fact that we're attracting a lot of leaders, we're attracting a lot of educators and teachers, and that makes it easier for everybody because we get to do this together.
Absolutely. And for our listeners out there, the fundamentals of how you serve your clients and truly stepping away from a transaction and knowing that we're in the relationship based business. I think, Ryan, you've perfectly outlined the opportunity that we have in the mortgage industry for truly what you can do with your business outside of just a transaction and income for you and your family. That's a great place to start. But if you're looking for purpose, there's a lot more that we can do in this industry together in order to make this world a better place. So Ryan, I said that was the last question, but I have to ask one more. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
All good.
Your your perspective is very unique in the industry, and I have a model that we attempt to get our clients to buy in on, which is called the hub and spoke. And I consider the mortgage professional to be the hub, and
Yep.
all of the spokes are your financial planner, insurance advisor, all of those people. So when you're going through your first payment check-in, 3 months check-in, 6 months check-in, are you using that as an opportunity to open up relationships and send referrals out to financial planners and insurance advisors? Or are you trying to take all that in-house?
No, yeah, we don't overstep our boundary. We most of our teammates do have insurance, like insurance practices, but it's just your standard homeowners insurance, auto insurance. So we've been able to kind of integrate that into our businesses, which is amazing because not only do we get an extra revenue stream, but the really important thing is our clients get the same type of advice and guidance in their ongoing homeowners insurance and auto insurance that they would get if they were coming to us from a mortgage perspective. But when it comes to life insurance, retirement planning, wealth management, estate planning, wills and trusts, home maintenance, home repairs, home upgrades, we have a whole concierge team that handles that. And so on the 3 month call, our clients know that's coming, right? Because we spend every time, well, first of all, we talk about it on the initial call. When we do our consultations, they're all via Zoom, right? They see our screen, we see them, they see us. We show them what they can expect for the next 30 years. We get them to commit that we're the right resource for them. When the transaction closes, we spend anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes on the phone with them explaining the next 20 to 30 years of our relationship, which is, if anybody wants our post-closing call script, feel free to just reach out to me on Instagram, just put interested. It's just Ryan_Grant_Neo. And I'll send you the post-closing call script. But this changed the trajectory of my career because when people get done with a mortgage, they think they're done.
Yeah.
They're happy they're done. Right. And they don't expect anything else from you except don't forget to change your clock emails, which your phone already does, recipe emails, right? Follow-up solicitations and asking for referrals. Yep. That's really all they expect. When they hear that our commitment to them is going to be so much more valuable for the next 30 years than it was for the previous 30 days, there's this level of comfort and connection that is created, but it has to be established, right? And then the client success team takes over, right? And so on the 3 month call, that's when we look at our notes, right? Because we train on how to do a proper dreams and goals call, which is way more questions than just what's on the mortgage application, right? Because if we don't get that, we can't solve for it later down the line. And so our client success team reads those notes and they say, Chris, it looks like there's nobody managing your money and you have this amount of money here. There's nobody doing this, and you don't have a will or trust. If you like, we'd be happy to introduce you to some of our trusted partners. We don't make any money off this. I want you to know that. Like, we don't actually care if you do this or not. We care that you know about it, right? And then you can make the decision on if it makes sense for you after talking with our partners. And that's just, we create that de facto family office, right? Which is nobody really has access to or nobody gets. And so um, we really, look, you can't be great at all things, right? Very few people can even be great at one thing. We really try and be great at mortgages under management. We're great at helping our clients, make the decision on if buying real estate, selling real estate, or financing real estate is a good decision for them. But if we tried to do anything else, we would do it haphazardly or half-heartedly. And so we just connect with all of the local professionals in our market that we really think highly of, and we get to partner with in a collaborative way. And our clients become the beneficiary. But there's a lot of clients out there that actually don't need like something so substantial, right? TurboTax is going to be just fine for them. They would pay too much for a CPA to not have any impact. Financial planner wouldn't make sense for them, and or vice versa, right? And so we give them advice on how to, go to uh, how to go to a Schwab account or a Vanguard account and buy an index fund. And again, we don't give advice. We just help them look at that. And with your disposable income, if you put this here, this can be kind of, we'll use our mortgage total cost analysis, and, we'll show them what that looks like over 10 years at a 6% average return. And we just get to really help people in ways we wouldn't, but it all starts with connecting the financial or collecting the financial puzzle pieces up front.
Mm-hmm.
And then we put together that puzzle for them as we go through the transaction. And then we just show them where there's missing holes in that puzzle that we can help them solve for. And that's a journey, right? It's a constant journey for the entire time that we're with them.
That is absolutely amazing. Well, Ryan, again, thank you for being so generous with your time and your information and being so transparent. We could probably go for a couple hours here. If people are interested, you gave your Instagram, that's phenomenal. But how else do people reach out to you and get more information about Neo, or if they're just looking to connect, how do people reach out?
Yeah, social media is probably the best way. You could go to our website. You could email me. Email is a little challenged and compressed at times. So I try and manage that as well as I possibly can. But usually social media is gonna be the best way, Facebook or Instagram. My team manages that really well, and they'll alert me if anybody needs help, and we know what to send and how to send it. And so I would just highly recommend anyone watching this, if you take one thing away, it's just the easiest thing to implement is that post-closing call.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have to change companies. You don't have to change, you don't have to hire people. You literally can just say, Chris, congratulations. If you have time now, we can do it. Otherwise, let's schedule 20 minutes. And I want to explain to you what the next 20 to 30 years of our relationship is going to look like. Because if you thought we were helpful for the last 30 days, you're going to be blown away with how valuable we're going to be for you and your family for the next 30 years. And that's important to me that you know that. Right. And so that will redefine most people's careers. And it will also, kind of bring that fulfillment and inspiration back into what we do.
Amazing. Fantastic. Ryan, again, thank you so much. To all of our listeners, that right there is worth a 5-star review on iTunes for this incredible episode of the Loan Officer Wealth. If you're on social, make sure you hit like, hit a comment with the thing that you found most valuable in today's episode. Make sure you share this with all of your other friends in the mortgage industry, because we grow together. And the more people that get this great information, the better we're all going to be. So again, Ryan, thank you for being on the show, and thank you for listening.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you having me.
Hey, it's Chris. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you enjoyed our guest today on the podcast. This is a reminder that we have just finished taking the greatest lessons from all of our guests and packaging them together into a brief online video presentation that's going to teach you the 10 most profitable ways to grow your mortgage business. And then we show you how to automate those processes in your business with people and systems so that you get the results without you having to do the work every day. This is quite literally a blueprint so that you walk into your mortgage business every day with pre-booked appointments with borrowers that want to meet with you and referral partners that want to send you business, so that you are spending your time inside your mortgage business on the highest dollar per hour activities, and you truly become the executive of your business, a true business owner, rather than just somebody who's going to a job every day and making a wage on the way through. This is an absolutely incredibly powerful training for you, and I cannot wait for you to experience it. So head on over to chriswebinar.com. That's chriswebinar.com to get that free training today. Now, if you could do me another favor, if you enjoyed this episode, please head on over to iTunes, search the Loan Officer Wealth Podcast, and give us a 5-star rating and review, really on any podcast platform that you're watching this on. That just 30 seconds of your time goes to help another loan officer in the industry discover this information and really help put their life and their business on track for more success. We are all in this together, and there is more than enough for all of us in the industry. So I would love if you left us that 5-star rating and review. Don't forget to stay tuned for our next episode, and I'll see you then.